everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Cailen Ascher, your host, and this is the Clarity Confessions. Today we have on the show Nikki Groom, and she is a business storyteller and copywriter at the F Factor. F stands for female, guys, so it's not that scandalous. Nikki helps women entrepreneurs all over the world shine a light on what makes them different so that they can market their businesses with confidence. Her approach to copywriting is a little unconventional in that every project she takes on is a fully customized experience. No templates, no scripts, just laser-sharp questions and a heaping dose of empathy, both of which help her get to the heart of your business so that she can speak to your audience in a way that makes them feel both seen and heard. And Nikki is here today to share her business successes and business secrets with us. So thanks for being here, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Good. So I know I did that little intro, but I'd love to hear from you just a little bit more about what you're doing in the world these days.
Yeah, I have the pleasure and the honor of working with women entrepreneurs who have great, fantastic business ideas, but just can't seem to find the right words to talk about what they do and talk about themselves. Sometimes that's the hardest thing in the world. So they tell me what they do, and I'm kind of like that middleman, and I help it make sense and really speak to those people that they most want to work with.
That's awesome. I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is communicating clearly what they do and saying it effectively that it really resonates with their audience. So awesome work. It's amazing that you're able to do that for other people when so many people can't even do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Very cool. So just as kind of an icebreaker, I like to do the rapid fire clarity confession questions. Are you ready for them?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Is your business aligned with your purpose?
Yes.
Describe your purpose in 10 words or less.
To amplify the voices of women entrepreneurs everywhere.
Beautifully said. When did you find your purposeful business?
I don't think there was like a set date. I would say it was more like a slow evolution.
And how did you find it?
I kept going and refused to give up.
That's an important lesson to keep in mind. It often arrives just at the point where you're like, time to give up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember if there was a moment when you found it? Like, where were you?
Yeah, I'd say it was more of a dawning realization than a lightning bolt.
And what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
The flexibility to do what you want when you want, without a doubt.
That's awesome. I like that too.
Yeah.
And what is the worst thing about being an entrepreneur?
Being ultimately responsible for absolutely everything.
That's a tough one. That's a lot on your shoulders, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And what is one word that sums up your life's purpose?
It might sound like a cliche, but empowerment.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to feel empowered in their lives?
I just feel like as a copywriter, I use that word a lot.
Yes.
Other people use that word a lot to talk about what they do. So.
No, that is true. It could be overused, but I think here it's coming from an authentic place.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dive in a little deeper about you and your business. Would you mind sharing what your first year in business really looked like for you?
Yeah, no, I don't mind sharing at all. And I think that when other people hear this, they're kind of like, oh my goodness, how do I emulate that? So there's kind of like a good side of it and a bad side. So for the first year in business, somehow I booked myself out for 3 months at a time. I had a huge amount of demand. I never had to go looking for clients. They found me. I was getting tons of referrals, lots of amazing testimonials. And I was on a roll, but there weren't really any systems, and there wasn't really, any processes underneath that. There wasn't like a strong foundation.
Yeah.
And so towards the end of the year, I was feeling very burned out, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I can continue like this, and I'm going to have to change things up. So I had to kind of take a step back and try some different things instead in the second year in business.
And what were those things, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so just being more realistic about, there was so much that I was delivering in 24 hours, but then being realistic about what that looked like for me. And, I've had so many conversations recently with other entrepreneurs about the importance of self-care and really taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
And taking a step away, having time out, taking a vacation, taking a weekend off, taking your evenings off. Because if you don't do that, then it's very easy just to feel overwhelmed and stressed and everything else. And, that's my advice. I still sometimes can find myself feeling overwhelmed. But I think that building in that space to take care of you, whether it's going for a walk in the morning or going to the gym in the evening, or even just taking 20 minutes just to sit and think about what's going on with you. I think it's so important. And I think not many of us do that on a regular basis.
I agree. And it's so funny. So many of us become entrepreneurs and pursue our passion because we want a lifestyle that we love, and then we dive headfirst into this business, and we're working more than we ever would be working in at a typical 9-to-5 job. And it is really important to kind of step out of being in that business mind and look at your life, and is it really what you want, or do you want a little time for yoga or walking or lunch with girlfriends, and and how can you start building that stuff in? Because that's the whole point of being, like you said, having that flexibility as an entrepreneur, that you can design this lifestyle that really appeals to you.
Yeah, it's so important, and it so often gets lost. And it's just kind of about keeping your head above water,
Yes.
And if you're not doing that, and you're not taking big gulps of fresh air, then you're gonna quite rapidly sink beneath the surface. If that made any sense?
No, it was a beautiful analogy. You can tell you're a writer. So I'd love to know, what makes you feel successful? Like, what defines success for you?
That's a great question. I think for me, money's important, and I'm never going to say that it's not. And I don't think that money's a bad thing. Sometimes it gets a bad rap, particularly amongst sort of conscious-minded business owners. It's like, I just want to make a difference. I do want to make a difference. That's really important to me. But I do also want to make money. So I think what sums it up is freedom. And, I always talk about the F factor. The F is meant to be for female, but it's also, freedom and financial independence and being able to stand on my own 2 feet and not have to worry about where my next paycheck is coming from, or have to have someone else take care of me. I want to be able to take care of myself, and I want to feel free as well. And so again, it's about having that space, that ease, that flow to do my best work.
Yeah. And like you were saying, to really, again, live that lifestyle that you desire. And that's all about the empowerment piece that you were saying earlier. When you have the freedom to live as a life that you've dreamed of and desire, how empowering is that when you realize that you're living this amazing balance of doing work you love and also having a life that's amazing too.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the goal, isn't it? So.
Yes, it is. It is the goal. So I know you're a huge proponent of storytelling and sharing our stories as women entrepreneurs. What is the importance of it for you? Like, why is that the piece in your business that like drives you forward and is sharing stories of others?
I think it started with, because I do focus on working and writing for women business owners, it started with this realization that I was hearing all these incredible stories, and I was writing copy for people, but it was like, I want to get these stories out into the world. Like, these stories need to be heard. And I think as women, traditionally we haven't had much of a voice, and I really am passionate about changing that. And so just to be able to give a platform for this, these stories of other women, and also to highlight the fact that so many women, and all of us human beings, have been through such tough times often and so much adversity, but we get to choose what we do with that. And I think that is the most inspiring takeaway from many of these stories, is that they've been through often some really tough, challenging stuff, and they've turned that to their advantage. And now they're doing that. It's like they use that as fuel for their success. And so what I love about these stories is that in telling them, it forces us to be vulnerable, but in that vulnerability, we're able to really more deeply connect with people. And I think that is the key. I think that just marketing in general nowadays, it's less about sort of throwing your message out there and hoping it sticks, and more about being real, being transparent, and telling the stories that bond us together and build those relationships and build that trust.
Completely. Yeah. Storytelling, I'm hearing more and more, is the essence of what really heart-centered, feel-good marketing is all about. And it's something that I've been trying and do strive to build into my business with every newsletter I write and blog post that I create, that I'm being me. And it's not necessarily an easy thing. You'd think that, oh, that's the easiest thing in the world. I'll just write like myself and, be myself. And you have to peel away so many layers that you don't even realize you have, that are blocking you from sharing those stories. But when you get to that, when you start getting glimmers of those stories, it makes you so much more relatable in business and in life. And I find that clients are drawn in, and you get responses to what you've written. Oh my God, that was amazing. I feel the same way too. It's really cool that you just see that these stories connect us all. And it's such like an ancient way of connecting. When you really think about it, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's actually, I never really thought about it like that. But yeah, you're right. We've been telling stories for ages, literally. So,
oh, that's really neat. So, if you can think of one, I mean, I think a lot of us have many. What was the single biggest obstacle for you on your path to success, to where you are today?
I know, it's funny because since I've been doing my 100 Stories Worth Telling project on Facebook, which maybe we'll touch on a little bit more in a minute, but since I've been doing that, people keep saying to me, well, what's your story? And now it's funny what you were saying, because something it's like, oh, I really have to open up. And I think, there are a few points that brought up a huge amount of fear for me. And I think that fear is often a good indicator of our next steps.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm not from the States, I'm from England, and I had the opportunity to move over here, leave everyone and everything I'd ever known, and move over here by myself and start a new life. And a part of me thought, that's crazy, I could never do that. And yet I decided that I was going to push through that fear, and I was going to see really what was possible for me. And within sort of 6 months to a year, I was over here, and over 7 years later, I'm still here, and I'm still doing my thing. And again, I think I came up against that when I launched my business. I had a great career, I had a fantastic job, and it was like, no, I really feel cool to do this thing, to work for myself, to help women in this way. And it was a huge risk, and I felt a huge amount of fear, but yet again, I pushed through that uncertainty, and on the other side of it, I mean, I've never really looked back. I say never really looked back because there was a point a few months back where the company that I used to work for actually approached me about potentially me going back and reassuming my old position. And for a while there, I was like, maybe I should do it. And then luckily I had a trip to Tuscany planned right after that, so I was able to go away, get some space, and really think through my options. And I was like, you know what, I can't do it. This business is my baby. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I would say that often when we look back, those sort of defining moments are really, they're full of fear, they're full of uncertainty, they're scary, and we don't necessarily know for certain what's next, but all we can tell is that they could, to imagine what could lay ahead of us on the other side, it's worth exploring, and it's worth pushing through. And that's, I think, what I've learned.
Yeah, I heard somewhere, I have to remember, I think it was in Tara Moore's book, it's called Playing Big, that there's two types of fear. The fear that, the irrational fear that just, there's, when you're a child, monsters under your bed, ghosts in the attic, all those things that you're just terrified, and it's the fight or flight mode. And then there's this other fear, and it's this fear of like playing bigger, stepping into your own, that fear that you feel in awe of the possibilities, but it's scary because the possibilities are endless and they're so big and they're so uncertain. But I think that's a great indicator, and it sounds like you're talking about the second kind of fear, this fear of really becoming the person you're supposed to become and doing the work you're supposed to be doing. And it's the good fear. And when you feel that, like the butterflies in your stomach, not in your throat, oh my God, am I actually going to do this? Those are the places to maybe step into and open yourself up to possibility, because there's often big change down the road and really good change right beyond those moments when you're thinking like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like you said it better than me. It's like, feel the good fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's so true.
That's an important lesson to remember, because we all have those moments, especially as business owners, where it's like, should I really be doing this? What am I doing with my life? How is this happening? How's this going to play out? And if you can push past those moments, it's often a breaking point when something really big sweeps in and takes over and things get bigger and better.
Yeah, and I also really believe that we already know what we should do, what we need to do.
Yes.
And so you can also identify the good fear by that, because it's like, on some level, and you might ask like a bazillion people for advice, like, what should I do? I've had this opportunity, I have this opportunity, or I could do this. And it's like, we almost resort to acting confused, or like we don't know, and throwing our hands up in despair because we don't want to be responsible for that decision.
Yeah.
But really, I think if we dig a little bit deeper, it's like, what do you think that you should do? And on some level, we do know that, and I'm a big believer of that too. So
yeah, I do totally believe that you have to trust your intuition, that little voice inside that really knows what's going on and won't lead you astray, even though you might wish it was telling you something different.
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's a good point. Sometimes, it's like, I believe that this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish that I didn't have to. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And if you can, and that's really the call to greatness. And if we can do that, if we can push through, if we can step forward regardless, then that's the real power of our story, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So just, I guess, one last question before we, talk a little bit more about where people can find you and what you're up to these days. I think this is always a curious thing for people. What does your typical day look like as an entrepreneur? If you have a typical day.
I'm like really obsessed with time management, because it's something that I struggle with. And so I'm always trying to find time hacks or different ways of doing things. So I've been interviewed by various different people, and I probably say something different every single time, because I'm always trying something new. So my thing right now is getting up earlier, going to bed earlier, getting up earlier, starting my day fresh, and trying to get things out the way sooner if I can. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stick to this one, because I've never typically been a morning person, but we shall see. But I always like to, generally it's, I'll take my dog for a walk, and that's really good just for clearing my head and getting me focused on what I need to do in the day ahead. And then I'll come back. I try and not get bogged down in my emails for too long, because oftentimes if I'll go and check my emails and I'll answer maybe some of the more urgent ones, but if I start answering every single one, I'll probably be there for hours. So my goal is to kind of move on to doing client work as soon as possible. I try and reserve Mondays and Fridays, if possible, too, for content creation and working on my business as opposed to in it. And again, that's a practice that I can't say that I've got it down, but I'm working on it. And then I've been really, really vigilant the last, I would say, the whole of this year. I've been really, I've really focused on trying to keep my evenings free and my weekends free.
That's nice. That's really important to preserve that time.
Yeah, definitely. And don't get me wrong, like I still always constantly need more hours in the day, but if I have that time to unwind, then I'm just going to come back to everything fresher and more able to continue the next day. So that's been a really important shift for me.
Neat. So, well, thank you for giving us that little glimpse into your life. You mentioned the 100 Stories project. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so basically I decided to turn my Facebook page, or the F Factors Facebook page, into a platform for the stories of women entrepreneurs. So, some of these stories are like so incredible and moving and crazy. Some of them like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that someone actually went through this. But I will say that I really believe that all of us have a story. And so I am still looking for contributors. So if you take a look at those stories and you think, hey, I think I have a story too, then I would love to, the link to submit your story is on that Facebook page. You can just search the F Factor, and you should be able to find it that way. And in fact, the website, you'll probably be able to list it somewhere, I imagine. But it's just the F Factor LLC.
Okay. No, that's great. I'll include it in the email that goes out when this goes live.
Yeah, so that has been fantastic. That I'm starting with 100 stories. I'm on, I think I just did number 25 today on the date of this interview. And the page has just over 1,000 likes. You know, this project is just getting going. We're just building momentum. But one of my most recent stories had over 7,000 views. You know,
wow.
Crazy numbers of comments and shares. I just got interviewed by a local radio station that broadcast to 96,000 households the other week. So this thing is like, I don't know exactly where it's going, but I'm really passionate about it, and so I definitely recommend you check it out.
Neat. Yeah, sometimes you don't need to know where it's going, but if it's just got good energy, just let it go and it'll arrive somewhere amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just starting and leaping and getting going and not procrastinating.
Yeah, that's a good, just do it, right? As Nike would say.
Yes.
And
yes.
what's your website, just so people can find you there too?
It's very simple. It's nikkigroom.com, and you can find me all over social media just as Nikki Groom as well. That's my handle everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it.
Great. So thank you so much, Nikki, for being here. I think everyone listening should go check out the 100 Stories. It sounds really cool. I especially am interested in that one that went viral. I think that must have been something pretty amazing going on in that woman's life.
And I think, once you have a little browse through, it'll become quite obvious, which one that was, because it was amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.